trying to get set up on my Chromebook. Looks like there's a bit of a lag tonight. Lovely. Hello, everybody. How are you? Still have a lot of work to do. Hey, Baragon, how are you? You know what? It won't work. I don't know how to download. I don't know how to find a version that works on Windows 7. So I'm going to have to figure it out. But I tried. I tried downloading it. Hi, Ross Lynch. How are you? Agreed. I thought maybe I might have the original download file on my computer, but I can't find it. So, deserts might have grasses in them, but we're not talking about the desert. A lot of times these grasslands are on the borders of a desert. That makes sense. They're semi-arid, typically. And you don't see a lot of trees. But what you do see, nothing is wrong with my voice, Greg Plays 2.0. It's your ears. You may want to get them checked. Fire, me too. Fire is very, very important. I'm not playing anything. Fire, very, very important to this ecosystem. Because it's what keeps, I'm talking about desert grasslands. Again, fire is very important for this ecosystem because it is what keeps the trees out. Like, that's important. Otherwise, it's no longer a grassland and it becomes sort of a savanna. Typically, these grasses are shorter than what you're going to see in a prairie / other type of grassland. They are very common. They are very common in basins and valleys that skirt mountain ranges. Yes, Greg, we do need trees, but not every ecosystem depends on trees. So like in a prairie setting and certain other ecosystems, trees are not the Alistair Gaming 4022. What are you smoking? The trees, again, fire, goes through, wipes out the grass, kills the young trees. The grasslands, state grasslands, you're not going to see I lost my thought. Sorry guys. The grasses are going to be shorter in these grasslands because they don't need to be great big and tall. Hi Sebastian. They can be smaller. Less surface area to lose maybe water to. They're commonly found, at least in North America, within the states of Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and down into about 13 states within Mexico. Now, one of the problems we have in modern times, and by modern times I mean since the West has been a thing with people moving into it, not so much the Native Americans, but people of European descent or otherwise, is that we don't allow the fires to burn. And so what happens is you get plants that shouldn't be there invading that space. Hi, Lloyd. Other plants you may see in these grasslands may include cactus and in pockets. Hey, Jacob. You may also see creosote, mesquite, yucca, and plants that don't have woody stems. Grasses you might see might be black grama. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Tobasa and Secatan. And we've focused a whole lot so far on North America. But I don't want you to think that these grasslands, these desert grasslands, are limited to North America. That is not the case. They can be found in Australia, where they are called tussock or Mitchell's grasslands. It is desert grasslands, and you're fine. In South America, they border the Patagonian deserts. But what about the other continents? And my answer to that is yes, and yes, and yes. You can find them in Europe, mixed in with the steppes that go across Eastern Europe through Asia. You may find them in the Gobi Desert, in an area on the southern edge of the Sahara. Even within the Serengeti, you may find areas that are desert grasslands. And we haven't really talked about the animals. So what you're going to find in many cases is because, yes, well, it depends, because a savanna, and it's, hold on, I got no, you are fine. So grassland, a savanna, and a savanna in every sense of the word is basically characterized by scattered trees. So you're going to find trees. Not a lot. We're not talking about a forest, but scattered. Tall grasses, maybe bigger than me, and two very distinct seasons. So there is a definite wet season and there is a definite dry season. If you see images of Africa where it's savanna, you will see acacia trees. You might see baobab. You're going to see grasses, of course. It's important to note when we talk about grasslands and whatnot that it's not just going to be grasses. There's going to be other stuff mixed in. And one thing we haven't really discussed are the animals. Well, it's a desert grassland. So you may find animals that are very much desert animals mingling with animals that are very typical grassland animals. So in the United States, you might see bison and pronghorn and prairie dogs with white-tailed deer or mule deer, depending upon where you are at. In Africa, you're going to see typical savanna animals. So elephants, lions, cheetahs, zebra, antelope. In Australia, kangaroos, dingo, and emu. And you can't forget the insects, the birds, inverts, reptiles, and yes, even amphibians, because we tend to forget about them when we talk about semi-arid to arid conditions, and they are most definitely in those places. I've only been speaking for 12 minutes. Golly. That is just short. There are so many different types of grasslands. Like, we've discussed 2 today, and there have to be, like, you could do a book. Seriously, you could do a book. So, there are prairies, savanna, temperate, flooded, which we talked about earlier, steppes, blackland prairies, Eurasian steppes, boreal grasslands, meadows, montane grasslands, pampas, subalpine grasslands, short grass prairies, tall grass prairies, and the list goes on and on. But let's talk more about herps within the so when I say herps, for those of you that are not aware of what that means, hi Carlton Clark. V6H5W. I happen to really enjoy animals. I've been doing great. How about yourself? So we tend to think of certain animals not living in certain areas. These are some of the animals. Well, we can talk about that in just a second, Ross Lynch, okay? Desert grassland whiptails are a lizard. You might find sidewinder rattlesnakes visiting the desert grasslands. Desert are horned lizards, collared lizards, desert spadefoot. If you don't know what a desert spadefoot are, this is a frog that buries itself into the dirt, puts a mucus around it, and within that burrow, they can stay hydrated for months at a time. You may also find tiger salamanders. And again, they're going to be doing that too. They're going to be buried into the soil, staying moist. You may also find Sonoran desert toads. Yes, there are toads. And they're going to be going underground to escape the worst of it. There might be Blanchard's cricket frogs or American toads. They're not, I don't think they're super, super big. Remember that even in a desert, you may find rivers or streams. You'll get pools that open up during the rains. So let's see. We will pick the desert spadefoot. And I don't know if the spadefoot, actually, the spadefoot is a toad. It's a toad, not a frog. So I apologize. So they are going to be not the biggest of guys. And these guys are very different. They are going to have on their toe pads, they're going to have hard protrusions on their feet, and that helps them dig. And they're going to be dull. They might be greenish, brownish in color. I'm trying to find a size. Not really finding a size. Yes, and depending upon the snake that you're looking for, at least in desert and hot conditions, they need to be warm. But what they're going to do is they're going to hide out in the brush, just like they might in Florida. They're going to stay comfortable because too hot and you croak. I don't mean that to be a joke, but did I answer all the questions? I don't know. So the difference between a frog and a toad, very easy to do. You can't go by size. Carlton, knock it off. We don't do that. Not on my channel. Other places, yes. But not here. So this is of course a frog. And frogs will have pretty smooth skin. That is the biggest way to tell the difference. And a lot of times frogs tend to be where there's water. You're not going to see a lot of frogs in dry places. Unless there is, again, a water source. And the same can be said for toads, because they still need, most of them still need to get the water in order to breed. Toads, on the other hand, will be a little bit drier. And they're going to have what look like warts or bumps. A lot of times, they will have, at least on the toads, there will be bumps right behind the eyes, more or less. Again, frogs or toads, frogs don't have those bumps behind the eyes, typically. Does that answer your question, Ross Lynch, on the difference between frogs and toads? Okay. There are several different types of spadefoot toads. There's an eastern, a coaches, a plains, a western. And they sort of, I don't know how to describe them. They are not going to win any awards for looking amazing. Not at all. This is a western spadefoot toad. He still has a few bumps on him, but he looks pretty smooth. So that's what they look like. But these desert grasslands, these guys are amazing. I've actually been lucky to see one of the species while I was in Utah, and actually saw it. A kid found it. So, and he was really excited to show me. So, yeah, there's that. Any questions so far? Because I don't have a lot. I would say actually they're very amphibian. That is a very common eye color for toads. And also probably because it's so bright, they're not like wide open. And it looks more like a slit. Maybe in places. I know at one time, it's kind of crazy to think about, but at one time the Sahara was actually not desert. It was pretty much green. which is crazy to think about. At least in my mind. Next week. Oh wait, we still have another live. I just found out that they're gonna do a Planet Zoo 2, which has me excited. Tomorrow's lives is gonna be a fun one, guys. Especially, well, fun for me, not fun for people who don't like spiders. We are going to be doing 2 spiders that live, or 2 tarantulas that live within North America, and 2 that come from Africa. And then Tuesday, we are going to be talking about the corpse flower and a relative. And then we're going to be doing, later in the evening, we're going to do Jack in the Pulpit and skunk cabbage. If you don't know what skunk cabbage is, it is not edible. At least, not overly edible. Oh, I gotcha. Well, here it is Friday for another many hours. We are going to be talking about, so that's Friday. Or that's Tuesday. The 14th, we are doing Wild Africa in Kidham Cave. The 15th, we're going to be talking about the benefits of floods to an ecosystem. And volcanoes, friend or enemy. For me, it is currently 6:30 in the evening, so we are going to be doing our 12 to 9 hour live. It will be on the 22nd. So, yay, I think. I don't know how many people we have. It was nice to see some new faces. That was nice. Okie dokie. I have not heard anything from Carol. Sorry. I have not heard anything from Carrie since earlier. So. Oh, I heard that. Oh, no. Gosh, I hate that. I cry every time I hear about that. So every once in a while, not to change the subject, but somebody's dog got into a yew tree. And that is bad. That is like really bad. At least for people. If you don't know what a yew tree is, here in America, they tend to be shrubs or shrubby things that we have in our yards. but they have what looks like a berry. And there will be a black seed. This is what I'm talking about. I don't know if you can see that. And that is not good. Like, you could potentially not be here if you were ever to, say, ingest that. It is not good. Not good at all. Yeah, I'm not. In my area, we could have snow. Really, really not looking forward to it. Really, really not looking for it. An Avengers game would be cool. Sorry. I had to turn off my TV. I haven't seen anything about it. I had to turn off my TV and turn off my PlayStation so I could focus. Really? That makes sense, though. I mean, he is Wolverine. So I guess that makes sense. I didn't see it, but I do like the Deadpool movies. I've seen 1 and 2, I think. Yeah, it was about that. It was about 2 years ago. I don't get out to the movies much. That's why I really liked having the Disney Channel years ago. I think that's the best way to do it. Well, all movies should just be for the fun of it. I don't know how I feel about some stuff. I do want to see the new Superman movie. And I wanted to go see the new Flash movie. But the stuff I've heard about the guy that played the Flash, I'm sorry. I hate to be one of those people who watches movies just because of the actor. But I heard stuff about him, and I'm sorry. It turned me off from the movie. But what's funny about it is I don't remember what was said. It was Hold on. I think it was the new Flash movie. 2023, maybe? Ezra Miller, maybe? Apparently, there was a bit of controversy with him. And honestly, I usually don't pay much attention to stuff like that. Oh, I haven't even seen. I don't even know the last Batman movie I saw. I've been so busy with everything lately that a bunch of stuff has got waylaid and pushed to the side. I got to get back on track. Nicolas Cage. Yeah, yeah. That I know. I like Ghost Rider as a character. Not really a fan of Nicolas Cage, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Oh yeah, I heard about that. He was supposed to play Superman. Though I'm sorry. I have a hard time seeing him as Superman. Ooh, that's probably not a good thing, I would think. No, I did not. Ghost Rider is is an awesome character. When I was a kid, or maybe not a kid, but he was in one of the Hulk cartoons that was on, and he's amazing. His power set, his storyline. I didn't really get to see the Ghost Rider that was on can't think of the name of the show now. That was on ABC. I think it was the Reyes kid. Agents of Shield, yeah, that's it. I did learn a really sort of sad fact about Boris Karloff and his time as the Frankenstein monster. The director made him carry the guy that played um Victor Frankenstein in a few scenes, and it legit messed up his back for the rest of his life, which is pretty sad. But in the making of Frankenstein, he lost 25 pounds during the filming of that movie. I am like, and then the glue that they used on his neck to hold the bolts in place on his neck, taking that on and off every day, or taking that off every day, actually like tore his skin. The man was scarred for life, literally, because of it. It's crazy what some of these guys went through. Yeah. And the costume itself was somewhere between 50 to 40 pounds. By the time you got the boots and everything. But if I remember right, yeah, he did. Well, then the snow that they used, I think it was snow. What was it? Was it snow? Why is that up? So they used snow. Supposedly there was snow that came down in the poppy field. And it was, instead of using like some other material, they actually used asbestos. That's kind of scary. And I guess also the witch's broom and the scarecrow costume was also treated with asbestos. Well, it's like, if you've ever read some of the original, yeah, it is. That's a myth. I think it's a bird. The lion, on the other hand, his costume was real lion fur, the skin of a lion. If you were to go in and read some of the original stories, like the original Snow White, the original Cinderella, not the Disney stuff, but like Grimm stuff, those were really dark. Those were horrendous. Don't remember if it was one of the queens in Oz was born a male. I'd never heard that. That's bizarre. The rightful ruler and eventual Queen of Oz, Princess Ozma, was magically transformed into a boy named Tip as an infant and lived as a male for several years. This was done to hide her from the good witch Glinda and prevent her from taking the throne. That very interesting. Hello, I am saying hi. You know, instead of like doing that, you could just say hi. For a second there, I got really worried. But I think it's just the washer. I don't know. I think I've seen it once. That's the one where they have the clock guy in it. And the creatures on the unicycles. Yeah. Okay, guys, we are getting down to the last. We got 8 minutes left. I'm keeping it to an hour because I've got to work on this video. I don't know why I thought the videos needed tweaking, but it's taking me a little bit longer to do them this way. I can tell you. It's in the plans. Now what I don't remember it takes it a minute to cycle through so I can scroll because there's so much stuff in it. Okay, let's see. Shovel nose sturgeon. So I have started set of 7 videos. They are going to be, I'll just go through them. The dung beetle video, Japanese bamboo as an invasive, ground ivy as a medicinal and edible, black bear as a good pet, African leopard, West Indian monk seal. I think we're doing that. Sea urchin as a group, tadpole shrimp, Indian strawberry, history of onions, painted dog, boomslang, bittersweet nightshade, lamprey. Really, really excited for the boomslang video, as well as the bittersweet nightshade. And then we have Brazilian pepper tree as a species, Hydrelia as a species, water hyacinth as an invasive, southern pine beetle. I think we're doing it as a species. Shovel nose sturgeon as a species, sturgeon as a group, and then lizardmen, cryptids, or reptilians. Greg Plays 2.0, what is your question? And no, when I do these as a pet video, we're not really encouraging you to have those animals as pets. Just so I'm clear on that. So it'll be 2.5 weeks. Greg Plays, are you going to ask your question? Maybe I'm just impatient. I hope not. That's true, he can, or better yet, he can just post it in live and then I can answer it. Because I don't have a problem answering questions if they're legitimate questions. I went outside because the door to the garage was left open. And I go outside, and there was a really, really faint smell of what I thought was a skunk. But I have a doubt that it's a skunk. I think it's something else. Greg Plays 2.0, are you going to ask your question or did you leave? No, I don't think it was a corpse. But you know what I really, really don't like about this time of year? There's something about the cooler air that makes sound travel better. Yeah, there would be. No, I think I think somebody was. Yeah, it's definitely dark here, and it's been dark for some time. I'm used to it. I just have to be careful this time of year because I've got to get outside. Seriously, it seems like my neighbor could fart and I'd hear it. Okay, guys, I'm going to hang up. It's been fun. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.